I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. The Senate Ethics Committee is publicly admonishing Senator Lindsey Graham, the MAGA Republican from South Carolina, for engaging in unethical conduct in violation of the Senate rules when Lindsey Graham would utilize the federal office buildings and the Capitol structure to continuously fundraise in 2020 for himself and then in 2022 for Herschel Walker. You're not allowed to campaign and fundraise in the House or Senate office buildings. You're not allowed to do it. You can't do it inside the Capitol building or on federal property. Well, Lindsey Graham would do it consistently, and he would often team up with the Fox propaganda network to either try to raise money for himself or to raise money for Herschel Walker, using the background, using the solemnity of the environment to demand, or in his case, beg for money. A public admonishment, though, is still kind of like a slap on the wrist, if you will. I want to read for you the admonishment letter, and then I want to talk to you a bit after. So let's take a look at the public letter of admonition. And this is from the Senate Ethics Committee to Lindsey Graham, and this is what it says. Dear Senator Graham, pursuant to the authority under Senate Resolution 338, the Select Committee on Ethics, the committee, reviewed an allegation that you violated Senate rules and related standards of conduct by soliciting campaign contributions in a federal building. The committee finds that your conduct was contrary to Senate standards of conduct and accordingly issues this public letter of admonition. The committee initiated its inquiry after receiving a complaint alleging that you solicited campaign contributions in support of Georgia senatorial candidate Herschel Walker during a media interview conducted in the Russell Senate Office Building on November 30th, 2022. The complaint included a link to a video clip of the interview, which the committee has reviewed, as well as the information you provided to the committee regarding this matter. Based upon all available information, the committee concluded that on November 30th, 2022, you conducted a media interview with Fox News in the rotunda of the Russell Senate Office Building, and that your interview was slightly over 9 minutes, with over 4 minutes devoted to a discussion of the 2022 senatorial runoff election in Georgia. The committee further concluded that during your discussion of the senatorial runoff election, you directly solicited campaign contributions on behalf of Mr. Walker's campaign committee, which they list the address, on 5 separate occasions, 5 separate times. Your actions on November 30th, 2022 represent a repeated violation of Senate standards of conduct. On October 14th, 2020, immediately following a Judiciary Committee hearing, you engaged in an unplanned media interview in the Dirksen Senate Office Building in response to a reporter's question regarding your re-election campaign fundraising. You directly solicited campaign contributions for your campaign committee. While the committee concluded your conduct violated Senate standards of conduct, it considered several mitigating factors and, in accordance with the committee's rules of procedure, determined your conduct was, quote, inadvertent, technical, or otherwise of a de minimis nature. On March 8, 2021, the committee dismissed the complaint and notified you of the committee's finding and action by private letter. The committee is charged with upholding the ethical standards of the U.S. Senate, a responsibility both broader and distinct from criminal law. The specific prohibition on campaign solicitation in federal buildings and restrictions on the use of official resources for campaign activity have been consistent and clear throughout your years of Senate service, and the committee is confident the Senate community understands this standard and its rationale. Applying this standard to your conduct, the committee finds that you did solicit federal campaign contributions and otherwise impermissibly conducted campaign activity in a federal building. Further, you made these campaign solicitations despite the committee's specific guidance following your violation in October of 2020. The committee does acknowledge that you did self-report your conduct to the chairman and vice chairman. The public must feel confident that members use public resources only for official actions in the best interest of the United States, not for partisan political activity. Your actions fail to uphold the standard, resulting in harm to the public trust and confidence in the United States. You are hereby admonished. And Lindsey Graham's response was, quote, this was a mistake. Quote, I take responsibility. I will try to do better in the future. And then they came up with a bunch of other excuses. First, let's talk about the fact that for 9 minutes, and this would have been repeated multiple times. It's not just this one occasion. I don't care what that letter says. For 9 minutes, Fox used its broadcast network to give Lindsey Graham a platform to speak and campaign for at least 5 of those minutes, or 4 to 5 of those minutes campaigning. And Lindsey Graham did that over and over again. We're focused here for the purposes of this admonition and this admonishment on what took place inside the federal buildings. But Fox does that all the time outside the federal buildings. So think about what it would cost to buy an ad on Fox. Prime time ad on Fox, 30 seconds, $75,000 leading up to the election, maybe more, $100,000. So giving Lindsey Graham hours and hours of time, when you probably add up the cumulative effect, and giving Republicans hours and hours just to campaign, just to do campaign ads for free. I want you to think about the value that was given to them. Then we learn from the Dominion lawsuit as well that at the same time when President Biden would buy ads on Fox, Fox would then surreptitiously give those ads to Jared Kushner so they can tell the Trump campaign what was taking place. I want you to just reflect on that for a second. I mean, that seems and should be patently unlawful. It is, and I certainly hope Dominion prevails in its defamation lawsuit, but that it doesn't just stop there, that there are real repercussions with Fox. I mean, they shouldn't call themselves news. It's utterly absurd. If they want to call themselves Fascist Fox or Fox Opinion and reveal who they really are publicly, what they're saying behind the scenes, I think it's despicable and disgusting, but you can't masquerade as a news network and engage in this type of conduct, and especially where essentially all you're doing is campaigning for Lindsey Graham and the MAGA Republican candidates. It's utterly absurd. And next, I want to talk about the fact that this admonition, the penalty is for them to say, "You are hereby admonished." I mean, you think that has a ramification on somebody like a Lindsey Graham? You are hereby admonished. Bad Lindsey Graham. Come on. There needs to be real consequences. I mean, Lindsey Graham has repeatedly violated. The letter talks about repeated violations by Lindsey Graham. Yet after the repeated violations, you get less than a slap on the wrist. I think that is highly problematic there. But as the letter suggests, the role of the Senate Ethics Committee is separate and distinct, in some ways broader, but distinct and separate from criminal procedure or other administrative procedures. And so I do hope that there is some, whether it's administrative or criminal, other action, a fine, but some real action taken against Lindsey Graham. There's broader action that needs to be taken against Lindsey Graham regarding all of his other conduct. But regarding this, I guess him being admonished and or censured is something, but it's certainly not anywhere near the type of justice that's needed. And by the way, have you even heard this reported anywhere else? Just kind of goes under the radar, gets buried. one of the things that we can do here at the MeidasTouch Network is call it out, that Lindsey Graham is admitting to engaging in this misconduct, and he's being censured and called out publicly. That needs to be reported in a far more broad and far more significant manner than any other media networks are doing. But that's the letter, folks. Wanted to read it to you. And I hope you kind of understand what took place. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support. So please hit subscribe. We are marching to 1 million subscribers in the month of March. Help us get there. All you got to do is hit the subscribe button. We're heading to 1 million subscribers in March. Also, wherever you get your audio, just search MeidasTouch Podcast and make sure you subscribe to our podcast. Easy, it's free. Just search MeidasTouch Podcast. And also you can check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Thank you so much. And now hit subscribe on our YouTube. Let's get to 1 million subscribers. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas.
Love this video? Then you'll love the MeidasTouch Podcast. Listen as my brothers and I break down the latest news and chat with top political leaders on the fastest growing pro-democracy podcast in the world. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Friday. Add the MeidasTouch Podcast right now wherever you listen to your podcasts.